Good morning, everyone. Let me first just thank Hussein for that very excellent and wonderful introduction. Didn't he do a great job? He did a great job. I think he may be a future Congressman himself. Just don't run against me. Now, we're here today with a whole lot of friends and allies from across the city and the state and the federal government, friends who have been working hard on behalf of each and every one of you, folks like Jesse Hamilton and, of course, my good friend Ruben Diaz, who happens to be the borough president from the Boogie Down Bronx. But Ruben, we're in Kings County, and so I just have to ask the question, is Brooklyn in the house right now? Are you ready to stand up for the education of all of our children? Do you believe in the path to possible? It's wonderful to be here and to join with you and the charter school movement as we work to deal with the issue of educational equity for all of our children. Now, Frederick Douglass, the great emancipator and scholar, once made the observation that it is easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men. And yet we understand that in this city and in this state, for decades, the system has failed tens of thousands of children who in many cases have been doomed to life sentences of disadvantage and despair. Now, the New York State Constitution promises every child a sound basic education. And yet we understand that for far too many children, that promise has not been kept. We need to turn the situation around, and what has become clear to everyone who is paying attention is that the charter school movement has been a tremendous part of the solution. And that's why we'll continue to stand with each and every one of you. Because everyone in this city, every parent, every child deserves to have an option, regardless of race, regardless of color, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of immigration status, regardless of zip code. Every single parent and child deserves the opportunity to make sure their child can get a wonderful education, to get a first-rate education that prepares your child for the challenges of the 21st century, to give your child the opportunity to be all that they can be, to make sure that your child can pursue the American dream and bring to life their God-given talents. That's why we're here today. That's why you've made the decision. And we know that charter schools have been a phenomenal part of turning the situation around. Now, I'm here today. I've got love for the traditional public school system. I received a very good education from the traditional public school. My brother received a great education from a traditional public school. My children right now are receiving a great education from traditional public schools. But if you are in a neighborhood and your traditional public school is not performing in the way that it should be, every parent deserves an option to give your child something better. And that's what education reform is all about, because zip code should not determine your child's destiny. And yet we understand in this city that if you live in Park Slope, or you happen to live in Brooklyn Heights, or maybe you live in Riverdale or the Upper East Side of Manhattan, if your local school is not performing well, many of those parents have the resources to ensure that their child gets a great education by sending them to a private school. But a lot of parents who live in Bedford-Stuyvesant or East New York or Brownsville or Crown Heights, who live in Harlem or the South Bronx, who live in Southeast Queens or the North Shore of Staten Island, a lot of parents who live in neighborhoods all across this city don't have that opportunity. And that's why it's so important to make sure that the public charter school movement can continue to grow and to thrive. Now, we know that if you just take an objective look at the facts, charter schools in neighborhoods like Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brownsville, and Central Harlem have helped to narrow the achievement gap. Charter schools throughout the city of New York have increased the number of Black and Latino students who are proficient in math and in reading. Charter schools have given parents the ability to make sure that your child will get a sound basic education in neighborhoods that have long been forgotten. And that's why I'm here today to strongly stand behind the effort to make sure that we double the number of charter school slots by 2020 to 200,000. Now, as I prepare to get off the stage, I'm really just a warm-up act for comment. As I prepare to get off the stage, it was once said by Albert Einstein that the classic definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. That's why we have to shake the system up. But we understand that there will always be defenders of the status quo. There will always be individuals who are going to resist change. In this city government right now, we have folks who, despite all of the facts and the evidence, will never have a kind word to say about charter schools. Well, a former Vice President of the United States of America once referred to these type of individuals as nattering nabobs of negativism. They are persistent pessimists, cantankerous critics, notorious naysayers. In Brooklyn, we just call them haters. You know, folks who, whenever you're on the verge of a breakthrough, want to step in and block your blessing. But I just stopped by here today to say to the defenders of the status quo, stop hating on charter schools. Because every single child in the state of New York deserves a first-rate education. Black children or white children, Latino children or Asian children, Jewish children or Christian children, Muslim children or Buddhist children, suburban children, rural children, and inner-city children. Your children and our children, poor children and middle-class children, district children, and yes, charter school children. Every single child deserves a strong, first-rate education, and it's not going to be easy, but we're here today to make sure that you continue to march, and you continue to fight, and you continue to struggle, and you continue to protest, and you continue to stand up. And if you don't back down, if you don't push back, if you keep moving forward, then we are going to stay in this fight and make sure that by 2020, every single child in some of these tough neighborhoods can get the education that they deserve. God bless each and every one of you.